Last year when I was travelling through Tuscany, I stayed with a beautiful family at Canto del Maggio and we learnt how to make the most amazing food. This is one of Simona's recipes and I'm going to share it with you today. These are her onions that have a beautiful pecorino and speck crumble. So yummy and really simple to do. So we're going to do this in stages. So we want to make this crumble, but we don't want to put all the ingredients in together because we want it to be really fine in texture. We'll start with some pecorino. So we'll just break up the pecorino in our blender. And of course you could use Parmesan, but Simona loves to use pecorino, so we're going to stick to the traditional recipe. Okay. And the lid goes on, and I'll pulse this until it's a fine crumb. All right, it's looking pretty good, so we'll pop that straight into a bowl. I like to crumble my pecorino like this anyway at home because I love that texture on pasta. Okay, next for the bread, 2 pieces of stale sourdough bread. We're just going to break up into smaller pieces just to give the food processor a helping hand. And we're going to flavour this with some thyme. So I'm just going to take off those little leaves. Lots of thyme for this, onions and thyme, pecorino, fantastic. So we want a generous amount. And 1 clove of garlic. I will mince the clove of garlic. And finally some capers. Okay, lid back on and we're going to pulse this until it's the same consistency as our pecorino. All right, these breadcrumbs are almost there, so now it's time to add some speck. I love to use speck for this because it's naturally wood smoked. It's also got a lovely layer of fat, so we're going to get nice crispy results. We'll just take that rind off. And we're going to cut it into smaller pieces now. It can be quite rough because the food processor is going to do the rest of the work. Okay, in it goes. And again, we're going to pulse it until it's a fine crumb. Oh, just perfect. Have a look at that. That's what we're after. So we'll take that blade out and we're going to combine the pecorino and the speck and breadcrumb. Great. Now just with a fork, we're going to combine that, and right there is a load of flavour. So yummy. This on potatoes, for example, like a potato gratin, then crumbling that over the top is exceptional. There are so many different ways you can use this crumb. But they're the best, of course, on these lovely onions. So let's prepare our onions. I'm using some red onions for this, Spanish onions if you like, and we don't want this small part here, so we can just use that for a soup or a salad later on. We're wanting it to be quite even, and we want the larger area of the onion. So we want it to be about 1 centimetre thick, and we're simply going to cut them into rounds. Now we'll just place some oil on a baking tray that's been lined with some baking paper, a generous amount of it. And with our hands, we're just going to spread that out because we want these onions to not only cook on the top, but also on the bottom. And we'll just line the tray. Excellent. And let's keep going with these onions. Last one. Okay, that is looking good. Now we're going to add a small amount of oil on top, just a dribble, a little bit, like that. A pinch of salt over the top, just to season those onions. And now we can crumb them. So just Get a spoon, and we want about a tablespoon per piece of onion. Don't overdo it, but we do want to cover the surface of that onion. This now goes into the oven, hot oven, 200 degrees, and they're going to cook for about 35 to 40 minutes or until they're golden brown and those onions are just cooked. Do these onions look nice and golden on the top? They're perfectly cooked, and I just can't tell you how amazing they smell with that speck and the pecorino combination. I'm just going to pop a few on a plate. Look, if I'm at home, I would leave these on the tray, serve them in the middle of the table. They're fantastic as is with just a nice green salad or a great side for a roast beef or roast chook. All right, I'm going to have a taste of these. Those onions perfectly cooked. It's amazing how when you cook an onion it transforms entirely. It's become really sweet, and then you've got that lovely savoury crumb. This one is a winner. Simona, thank you for your recipe. I can't wait to come back to Tuscany one day.